One of the challenges a lot of people have when recording interviews is getting good audio, because you need to mic up both the interviewer and the interviewee and then get the signal into your camera. So what some people do is get two sets. They put one set of transmitter and receiver into one channel, the other one into the other channel, and then mix them in post, shooting into something like a Zoom or something like that. But what I've got here is the new Comica. This is the BoomX-D. And what this is it's two transmitters and one receiver. So let's have a look at it right now. Hey Cafe crew, Colin Smith here from photoshopCAFE, and today we're going to be having a look at the Comica BoomX-D. So this is essentially a wireless microphone system for doing interviews. And what it does is it solves a problem a lot of people have, and that's having two mics and one receiver. So you can actually get both mics into the receiver. So why don't we crack this open? We're going to have a look at it, and we're going to answer the obvious questions. What does it sound like? What kind of range does it have? And does it work well? Let's have a look right now. And I notice it's got a little magnetic catch, which is nice, which means I can open it, and then I'm presented with the gear. So let's have a look at these, and we're going to look at the accessories. Let's see what comes with it. So if we look at it here, we can see they're very small, lightweight. And here is your receiver. And we have two transmitters. So essentially you put this receiver on your camera, and I can see that we've got a headphone jack, which is great, which means we can monitor that audio coming out of here, and also we have an out, so we can go into the camera. So you could monitor the audio here to make sure it's nice and clean, and then you could plug your headphone jack into your camera and monitor it there. If your camera doesn't have a headphone jack, well then just do it here. This little catch here should slide nicely onto a cold shoot. If we look at it on the side, I can see that we have a couple of different things. We have a reset button, so we can reset the system. We have an on-off, and then we have the A and B for adjusting the audio. On the other side here, we have a USB port for charging, and this is USB-C, which is really nice. All right, the two transmitters are identical. And on the transmitters, if we look on the side here, it looks like we have a USB-C for charging, reset button. On the other side, we have a pairing button and a on-off mute button. So that means if you tap it once, it'll mute it, tap and hold, it'll turn it on and off. On the top, we have a built-in microphone, which means that I could attach it right there, and I could talk and pick up the audio there. And it also has a jack in here, so we can put a lav mic in if we prefer to do that, and then just put this on the belt and use it as just a typical belt set. Super lightweight. Okay, let's have a look at the accessories. On here we have a little pin here which looks like a SIM card remover. I think it is a SIM card remover, but this is good so we can use this for hitting the reset button to reset any of the preferences. Okay, so if we look at the transmitter, and if you're talking on this mic outside, one of the issues you're going to get is the wind is going to blow in there. You're going to get that kind of sound that you have heard very often. So it does come with a windsock. So this is great. I can put the windsock over that mic. The other option is it has the mic jack. One of the things I was actually very surprised with, this comes with the mic. So you can actually just plug in here directly into that microphone slot. And it has an additional just little stabilizer there which holds it in position. And then we've got a clip-on lav mic on a cable. So we're going to test the audio on this pretty soon. So look how small that is. It's really small. And I'm really impressed with the fact it comes with not just one mic, but it comes with two. So each one of these comes with its own windsock and its mic. So that means when we do the interview, you can either just clip it on here or mic up both people. Everything you need is right there in the box. Okay, so I have two mic cables. One of them goes mono to mono, and the other one goes mono to stereo. So all I need to do is just plug this in, out of the mic, and then it goes into the mic jack on your camera. Now, if you have a camera that uses a stereo mic jack or a mobile phone that supports it, then just plug that in there. So it comes in different configurations. There's this receiver that I have here, which works on a DSLR or mirrorless camera. They also have a receiver that works on a mobile phone. So if you were just recording on your phone, you would get that other receiver that has, you know, the Lightning USB port and plugs into the phone. And the other thing we have in the box here is our cable for charging, which we've got a standard USB-A on here and USB-C, which works on both transmitters and receivers. All right, so these work at the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth, and they also have a range of up to 50 meters. So let's have a look and turn these on and see what they look like. Let me turn on the receiver here. And I see Comica come up nice and bright. And it also, you can see here that it's showing that this is receiving the signal. I can see on both of the transmitter and the receiver, I can see the levels, which are looking quite good. So if I'm talking into this one here, I can see the levels set there. Now let's turn on the additional one. Now I can see that it's working on both of these. All right, and I see both of these are working there. So why don't we get the camera, put these on and see what they sound like. All right, why don't we set these up? Let's get the receiver, and we're just gonna slide the receiver here onto the top of the camera into the cold shoe. And it fits quite nicely. Right now I'm using a Sony a7 III. That's nice and snug. Take the mic jack out. Take that, put it in there. All right, fits in there nice and snugly. Okay, and I'm just gonna use one of these mics. So I'm just gonna hit record right now on the camera. Why don't we test the quality of the sound here in the studio? So let me turn this around to face me. Right now I'm talking with the built-in mic on the camera. So right now I've got the headphones on so I can hear. Now there's a little bit of latency, so it makes it just a little bit confusing if I'm talking while listening on the headphones at the same time. So latency is the wireless delay between here and there. It's not terrible, but you know, for self stuff like podcast or something, it would probably be a little bit distracting. For an interview, not really a big deal. All right, so I've got the levels turned down as low as they'll go on the receiver. The reason for that is the Sonys tend to be very hot when it comes to audio. So I'm going to just snap this on here, and we're just going to use the built-in mic. We'll see how this sounds. So we're testing 1, 2, hey, 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 testing, testing. Now, obviously, you're going to hear my fingers when I touch it. That'll happen on any microphone. But I'm putting it down on the table, so we've got a little bit of distance. So testing 1, 2, 1, 2, hey, hey, hey. Let's see how that sounds. Now we're going to take the lav, or the lavalier mic. We're going to plug this in. Clip it on here, so I have it on there. Testing 1, 2, hey, hey, hey. Testing 1, 2, talking, testing. Now we can take this far away from the mouth. So we're testing here, hey, 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 testing. And up very close, it might be too hot, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so there's 2 tests we need to do on this. I'm going to take it out on the field, and we're going to test it outside, see what kind of range we get on it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to WPPI with me, and I'm going to do some interviews with it where I'm just going to mic this up, and we're going to have 2 people talking on here, and we're going to see what the quality of that is like. And the first test I'm going to do is I'm going to spin around and see if we lose signal. Are we losing signal as I'm turning around, as my back's to it? Okay, now we're line of sight again. Let's see if that works. All right, so why don't I just walk and see how this audio is going. So right now I'm backing up. Of course, we're in the soccer field. So it says it's supposed to be 50 meters, which I think is about 150 feet of range. You know, for an interview, that's a long way. Typically, you know, you're never going to be even this far away for an interview, but let's keep going in case we're doing, you know, like sports or something like that. I'm going to do a 360 spin now and using. We are almost half a soccer field away. Go here. Right now we're at the middle. It's about halfway. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And we are testing. I don't know if the signal is starting to drop yet or if we're still going. Of course, I'm looking behind me as I'm looking. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And in fact, what I'm going to do now, since I'm way out here, I'm taking that mic on the just on the built-in mic right now, so we're not using that anymore. And I'd just be curious to see if the mic cable is working as some kind of antenna. All right, that's the length of a football field or a soccer field. I don't know if they're different. I'm sure they are. So anyway, I'm coming back. And I can unclip the mic. I just got this kind of pointing down, flopping on my thing, testing the audio, see if we're still going. See if we're still going or not. Still going, still going. Sounds like the guys over here are very enthusiastic with their soccer. And testing the audio. Do we have a signal now? I'm sure we do at this point. Wonder how the audio quality is different of this, you know, from the lav mic versus just the built-in mic. Curious to hear the difference. Haven't actually heard the audio from this mic at all yet. All right, so we're getting pretty close. And so this could be, you know, like a distance from an interview. Typically, this is about a typical interview distance now. And I'm gonna turn around, turning all the way around, seeing are we losing our mics? Sure that they're pointing towards the camera, are they cutting out or not, and that's just using it out of the built-in mic. So right now we're doing a mic test using the built-in mics, and the purpose of doing this is there's a lot of background noise. This is a trade show. If you're on a show floor, you can't do an interview using a shotgun mic or the built-in mic on the camera. I mean, you can, but it's really hard because of all the noise. It just kind of gets
picked up at once.
Yeah, it's just a mess. So we'll see how well this does as far as like the isolation. But right now we're using the built-in mics. We're going to switch things out now, and we're going to put on the lav mics. We're going to put a little gift for you.
Oh, thanks.
And one for me. It's an unboxing video. Unbagging.
Unbagging.
All right.
Unpocketing and unbagging.
So, what are you doing here in Vegas?
I'm here at WPPI.
How many times have you been at WPPI?
My first convention or conference was 2013. I've missed 1 year since then. And I definitely had massive missing out.
FOMO?
A little bit, but I didn't want to say that. But everybody, the Instagram was blowing up with everybody having a blast. And so I decided I at least come for one day for a bit longer. So here we are for a day. Flying in, flying out.
WPPI 2020. So that's it, guys. That's what the mics sound like. For people watching the review, this is not going to be on the interview. We're testing the Comica system, and right now I've got the two mics on the ground in stereo, and there's going to be three of us talking, and we'll see if this sounds any good. And today I just arrived at WPPI, and I have a couple of good friends here. Dennis Dunbar, who I've known for donkey's years, and Earth Oliver, we just met at Adobe Max.
So I work on everything from movie posters, product, beauty, lifestyle, you name it. An awful lot of what I get asked to do is compositing, so I really love compositing because it requires so many different skills.
So for work, I've been a commercial retoucher for as long as Dennis has, basically. Yeah, as soon as I could walk, had my pen and mouse in hand. But I do commercial retouching. I live in Portland, Oregon, and so.
All right, guys, so I just got back from Vegas where I was able to test these at WPPI, and these are actually going to be launched today. So let me give you my conclusions on it. First of all, battery life. The battery life, they say, is about 5 hours. I used them at WPPI quite a lot for different interviews and stuff like that. I didn't sit there and test them for the full 5 hours, but I definitely used them for several hours and had no problems. The batteries were still mostly full. These are going to be retailing for $259 in the United States, which is a good value for two transmitters, one receiver. Also, they come with the two lav mics and the cabled mics that will attach in here, and the two windsocks. So I was testing these on a Sony a7 III, which has a hotter preamp than, say, the Canon 77D and other ones, which means that the gain is definitely boosted. So I had these turned all the way down, And also I had the gain turned all the way down to 1 on the Sony camera, so it was as low as it could go, and I was noticing it was a little bit powerful. So you might want to consider, the mic placement, make sure it's not too close if you're using on a Sony camera. Other cameras such as the Canon that are not quite as hot, I don't see any issues there at all. So the sound quality seemed pretty good. When we were in a crowded room with a lot of noise going on, I did find that they sounded better with the attached lavalier mic, obviously for proximity, getting it closer to the mic. But as you could hear, I was in a crowded, noisy trade show floor, and you were able to clearly make out the interviews on there, no problem at all. Which I've tried this before with things like shotgun mics, and it's just too noisy. It's very, very difficult to isolate sound. The other thing about them is when you do attach it and you have both mics attached, if you hit this button here, the on-off button, you just tap it, you can go between stereo and mono. If you're a mono, both the mics are going in equally. If you tap it and it goes into stereo, the transmitters, A and the B, go on the left and the right channels, which means that if one of your interviewers is more softly spoken than the other one, you can adjust the volume based on the left and right channels. The other thing that worked quite well when I was talking to Earth and Dennis doing that interview on the floor, we just had these two sitting in front of us, and these seemed to have really good range with the built-in mics. So you could mic up a room and have, a group conversation with these, no problem at all. I did notice a little bit of latency on these, more than I did with the Rode Wireless Go. So when you're listening with the headphones, you could kind of hear that little bit of a delay. Now, in most of your interview environments, that's not really going to be an issue because generally when you're doing interviews, the speakers are not wearing the headphones. Now, if you were doing this for, say, a podcast and you were using headphones, I don't think this is really what these are designed for. Now, the great thing about them, though, is if you're doing an interview and you've got more than one speaker and you want to mic up people individually and also be able to control the audio levels on each speaker, these seem to work really well. Bear in mind that these are line of sight, so you don't want to be blocking the transmitters from the receivers because you can get a little bit of cutout, which is not unusual. That would happen on any of these kind of mic sets. But in an interview situation, that's not really going to happen. You're just going to snap it onto your belt and go ahead and do the interviews. All right, so I know for a lot of you, a burning question might be, how do these compare to the Rode Wireless Go? And I'm going to give you an honest answer because I don't think you guys expect anything different from me here. I would say it really depends on what your needs are because they kind of have a different use. So if you were looking for a single mic and a single receiver, I wouldn't say the Comica is better because there's that little bit of latency, which is going to bother some people more than others, but also that very hot signal. Even with everything turned down, you have to get a little bit proximity on that mic so it's not clipping on that Sony camera. Now, on the other side of the coin, if you're looking to get two people on mic and do interviews, then this is definitely the way to go because the two transmitters are going to work on that one receiver. If you get the Wireless Go and you attach a second transmitter, you still can't get two transmitters into one receiver, so only the Comica is able to do that. And the weight, these are incredibly lightweight. I would say all three of these together feels like they would weigh about the same as a 9-volt battery, maybe even less. They really are quite lightweight and easy to use, so when you're wearing them, you don't really feel the weight of them. You don't even really know they're there. So I would just suggest that, put in your headphones, make sure that you get a good signal. I would test the signal on the camera, have a listen to it on playback, make sure it's not too hot. So if it is too hot, just move the microphone a little bit further away and set them up on a stereo pair and go ahead and do your interviews, and I think you'll be really happy with the results you're going to get from these. So I know I've had a lot of interest from you guys asking about two transmitters and one receiver, so when Comica reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review these, I figured it'd be something to be interesting for you guys to check out. So anyway, I'd love to hear your comments about it. Let me know in the comments underneath. And by the way, if you're new here to Photoshop Cafe, I do Photoshop Lightroom tutorials and the occasional reviews. And if you'd like to get those from me, hit the subscribe button and also turn on those notifications so you know when I upload a new video, which is every single week. Anyway, if you like this, smash the like button into dust. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.